It's time for a quick, maybe quick, trip around the NBA. 30 teams, maybe 30 minutes, injuries. Let's take a look at who is hurt, who is not, and what we can expect. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I'm holding up a mirror to multicultural society. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com. Newsletter, your favorite team. Check it out. Also, we're double banging here. We're heading towards 80k on YouTube, so let's hit that mark and let's listen on both audio and watch the video. Apologies, the audio show for yesterday was delayed. I don't know why the publish button didn't work, but whatever. I do apologize for that. It's out now, and you can go back and listen to that. But here we are to look at all 30 teams. Injury report before Monday's insane 15 games. There are people who be like, man, it's so awesome, 15 games of NBA. I understand that. I also think it's terrible. It's terrible from a fantasy perspective. I think it's bad from a watching perspective because there's just too much going on. So, when we do have like gaps in the schedule, which we do, and like small volume days, it's better to spread it out because you can't watch all 15 games. You can't pay attention to all that stuff. There's going to be plenty of stuff that flies under the radar. That's what my recap show is going to be for, to catch you up on all that stuff. But still, like, it's too many. It's too many, and I know why. I know there's a day off tomorrow. I know why there's a day off tomorrow. I just think that, in the end, there's too many games. That's all it gets down to. The schedule has too many games in it. We're good. Let's talk about these teams now. Let's start. Last week we started with the Hawks, so let's reverse it, and we'll go to the Washington Wizards and talk about their injuries at the moment. Kyle Kuzma is dealing with a groin problem. They haven't really given us a specific timetable. I'm putting him out until about the end of November, around Thanksgiving. That's about a regular sort of thing. We've got a lot of it. We've got a lot of at the moment. Core/hamstring injuries, adductor strains, oblique strains, abdominal issues, and hamstrings. It's almost like having like 1 day or 2 days of training camp before starting preseason games is not a very good idea from a health and fitness perspective. I don't know why the NBA does this. I have no idea why their preseason is structured the way that it is, but it is. And we're seeing a ton of like soft tissue / core injuries at the moment. Kuzma out for that long. Brogdon may be back around I got 22nd of November. All of these dates, by the way, are estimates. I have to make estimates on every player's injury return. I just can't hand wave it and go, sometime. Because we've got to set individual daily projections and season-long projections, and you need to have specific times. So these won't be right. I'll tell you now. They're my best guess, but we don't know. The teams give us limited information, so we use what we hear, what we learn from a team, what we learn from a beat reporter, plus historical comparisons. But it's not going to be 100% correct. So when you see these dates, these are not a guarantee. These are not a date that is announced necessarily. This is an estimation. Marvin Bagley, when I started this show, he was questionable for today. He has been ruled out with an illness. I don't think that matters for most of us. He's basically been phased out of the rotation in Washington, with Valanciunas getting the backup center minutes. In Utah, Larry Markkanen has missed 2 games with a back issue, and we thought there was a chance he would return Monday, but he will not. He is doubtful. His return will come this week at some point, but you know that I faded Markkanen hugely. In a head-to-head league, I had no interest in first or second, and honestly, in a lot of third rounds. Roto, different story, because I was like, they're not going to play him that much, especially in head-to-head playoffs. But it started already. It's bad news. And they started Kyle Filipowski last game. He struggled. He's not bad. You wouldn't stream him on a 15-game day, but there's something there, and we'll see what they do with John Collins. Remembering also last game, Collins was back to playing only center. And this idea of Collins being this awesome permanent guy, which at the moment he is, I don't think it lasts, but we're going to watch it. Jordan Clarkson is dealing with a heel issue, the man on the street. We got him back at around the 12th of November, so that's a few more games out. You don't hold that, you just move on from that. And while Colin Sexton starts, he didn't get the bulk of the minutes. I am extraordinarily worried about how Sexton is being used. And honestly, he will not be rosterable all season. I'm very certain of that. Sexton and Clarkson. The guy that will get minutes at some point is Isaiah Collier. He's still out with a hamstring. He hasn't played his first game yet. He will be inefficient incredibly when he plays, and it's going to be a late season push, but he's out until around the 12th as well. And then when someone's ruled out for the season, I will mention them once on an injury show, and then we're done with that. So Taylor Hendricks, you know that he's fractured his leg, is out for the season. You have to really worry if there's any impact on that long term. Not to say he won't turn out good, but that is a bad thing in terms of just taking the top off your 99th percentile outcomes, that sort of stuff. It's not great, and it's a whole year lost of development, which again is really terrible for the Jazz and for Taylor, of course. The Toronto Raptors, we've got to do the good teams first. Don't know how Toronto snuck in here. Scottie Barnes is dealing with that orbital fracture. We've got him around the 21st of November to return. Jonathan Mobo started one game, and then it was back to Ochai Agbaji. Mobo has by far the better fantasy game, but Agbaji's been playing more and producing more. I think either of them are okay, but I think you're going to sort of back and forwarding a lot of this stuff. Mobo's the guy that late in the season I'm going to be way more interested in, so if you've got a stashable format, just to recalibrate, what is a stashable format? Games cap roto, deep benches, weekly leagues, head-to-head games cap, debatable. But it's deep benches, roto games cap, weekly leagues are your stashable formats. Then he is a stashable guy. We still don't have anything on Emmanuel Quickley. We know that he's doubtful again with a pelvis contusion. Now, just to be clear, because I know there will be people who go, it's a bruise. Sure, but it's not. And I think we really need to clear up some of this stuff. He doesn't have a bruised hip. His pelvic bone, you know, the one in the middle there, has a bruise on it, which is a big sort of blood clot in the bone. That's what a bruise is. A bruise is a blood clot. It's in the bone. And think about when you move and when you sit and when you twist and when you jump, everything is connected to your pelvis. It's going to hurt a lot. Bone contusions take a long time to heal. So we hope, it's annoying they won't just rule him out, but this is not like, oh my God, he's soft or they're sitting him down. This is an injury that, like, surely he could play. He'd be in pain the whole time, but he wouldn't be able to do anything. He wouldn't be able to move anywhere near what he needs to do. So that's why he remains out. Kelly Olynyk's back issue seems to have flared up again. He's out until the end of November. I don't think you need to hold on to him like there's no priority in them playing him. Why would they? They don't need to do that. And Bruce Brown with knee surgery, maybe the end of the week. But also, Bruce Brown's not going to have an impact from his own numbers in fantasy. He might impact some of the others. But like again, Shed, Mitchell, Gary Trent III. There's a lot of options they can use. Brown, they should have traded. Maybe they do. I don't know. But it's just another name that could mess up some other players. I don't think Brown coming back really like plays with Dick too much in terms of where his minutes sit, but it's all these other guys when Quickly and Barnes and even Olynyk comes back. It's just a couple of extra little bits off the top of Dick that might reduce his overall value. And he's really the guy at the moment, Grady, who is, I would say, benefiting the most from these Raptors injuries. In San Antonio, we have got two guys. Devin Vassell is one of them. Vassell is dealing with that foot problem. Hopeful we get him back this week. I think he'll be back sort of slowly, minutes restriction, and back-to-back sitting for a bit. The other one is Trey Jones. We've got him out 11th of November. With Trey out, you are getting more Blake Wesley. You're getting more Steph Castle. I think when Vassell and Jones comes back, Castle might play like 12 minutes. In fact, I would not be shocked if Castle spends time in the G League when these guys return, just so that he can actually get some real on-ball minutes. I wouldn't be surprised at that, because what you've seen is they tried to keep Chris Paul's minutes low. They put Steph Castle in that role, and then Pop said, no. Chris, you've got to play 33 minutes a night now. And when Trey comes back, I think Paul's minutes will pull back a little bit, because they just don't trust Castle to do that yet. So, and they've done it with a lot of their players, is putting these guys in the G League, let them develop for months, and then we see exactly where they end up after that. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. Today's episode is brought to you by something new. It's brought to you by Built. If you are renting, you might feel like you're stuck in a loop of rent payments. You're watching your money, it vanishes into thin air, right? So it is time to turn that renting game, turn it around and start earning rewards on your rent. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use the points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points towards a flight or a hotel and stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They are designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That is joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use that URL so that they know that you came from us. Joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Start earning points with your rent payments today. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Tickets. We want to go to live events. We want to see our favorite teams. We want to see our favorite basketball team. We want to go and watch football, college football. We want to go watch the NHL. We want to go watch comedy. We want to go theater. We want to watch musicals, all that sort of stuff. These are all the things that we like, and Game Time Picks just bring the new thing in. Game Time Picks is the new thing. It cuts out the fluff. It shows you the good tickets. It shows you the good value. It prioritizes them. So you don't have to waste your time sifting through to find the other things. So this is just an additional feature on top of the other things that Game Time provides, which are like views from your seat, event protection cancellation, the ability to toggle on the all-in pricing in the app so that the price that you see is the price you pay. Game Time is always throwing new things around, and they did it here again. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Okay. We've covered off the Spurs, and that must mean we're going into the Sacramento Kings. Fan of Pants Kevin Huerter dealt with an illness last game. He missed at the moment. He is currently questionable for the game on Monday. We saw with him out, they pushed minutes for some reason into Doug McDermott. We saw big minutes from Malik Monk, which again is insane to me because Malik Monk is so much better than Kevin Huerter. Why you would keep them at the same minutes in a game makes no sense. Honestly, if this team didn't play Kevin Huerter and just went Keon Ellis and Malik Monk, I think they're better. But what do I know? Nothing, apparently. Huerter is not someone we look at outside of streaming for points and threes. Devin Carter's out until January with that shoulder issue. I really don't think that as a rookie he's going to be able to have a huge impact with that injury. And Orlando Robinson with a knee problem, probably another week. But again, that's not one that's really going to matter for most people. Portland's got a few that do matter. Old mate Shaden Sharp is still dealing with that shoulder issue. There is a chance, I'm thinking, that he returns at the end of this week. Got him down as an estimated return of the 10th of November. Sharp had a really strong run last season where he was the only player really available to do anything, and he played 40 minutes a night, and he was really useful. But otherwise, I'm not really sure where his fantasy game sits. Now, it's year 3 for him. He's had a lot of injury concerns. But how does he fit next to Grant, next to Scoot, next to Simons, next to Ayton? Does he touch it enough? Giggity. Does he get rebounds? Does he do anything defensively? Does he shoot well? Because at this point, the evidence would say no. It might. I don't mind having him, but I'm also going to be relatively quick to cut bait, I think. Guess what, guys? The Rock DJ's coming back. Rob Williams. I'm very intrigued. They're playing Klingon like 12 minutes a night. So does Klingon just go away? Does Ayton play 27 minutes? Does Rob play the 4? What the hell happens? Because there's no real clear role here. Williams is probably going to get hurt at any point. If he finds 21 minutes, then fantastic. We love that. That would be useful. But how it happens here, I have no idea. I don't know how he fits in at all. So I wouldn't be shocked if Klingon moves out of the rotation, honestly. It would be insane, but I wouldn't be shocked. Matisse Thybulle's also dealing with a knee problem. I'm also not really sure where Thybulle fits in when players return. They've got Avdia there. They've got Kamara. They're giving Chris Murray minutes. I guess Murray could lose playing time, but like Thybulle, we know what he is. He's really good defensively, but I don't know where he fits. I honestly don't know where they're going to play him. It's a very, very weird rotation. Phoenix, wouldn't have to talk about much here. It's Brad Beal, who I think is going to just keep popping up on the injury report with that elbow issue. We know that when he plays, he's pretty good, and when he's out, Ryan Dunn steps up. Ryan Dunn, one of the best rookie stories this season. And that's one of those ones where when you can project him and you can talk about... I reckon if I go search my name on Twitter and Ryan Dunn, I had a tweet about Ryan Dunn maybe in like December and said, man, if this guy can do anything offensively, he is going to be a fantasy beast. And I think most people reply to it like he's got no shot. He just cannot do anything offensively. He's too short. He plays center. He can't shoot at all. And then I looked at all the stuff and it's like, Jesus, this is actually horrible, right? He can't do anything. And now bro's taking pull-up threes. He's hitting. He's the ability to change that in like a 3-month period is the outlier. That's one of the ones you can't project. You can't just sit there with any player, fantasy or real life, and say, you know what? The worst shooter I've ever seen is going to be really good. Because you're going to get it wrong 99 times out of 100. Kudos to him for doing it. But it's one of those ones where if you get it wrong, yeah, understandably. This is a wild change from Ryan Dunn, who will be the beneficiary if Beal is out. But there's not enough to suggest that he's a must-roster guy all the time because he just doesn't play enough on those other days. But, Beal might be out a bit. Philadelphia. This is one of the ones, I think this maybe stemmed my discussion earlier on today or in the start of the show when it's talking about estimated returns. I don't know when Joel Embiid's coming back. I know he's out on Monday. I've got him down as the 8th of November, so missing the next 2, and then there's a game against the Lakers on Friday, I think it is. Who knows? They say he's getting closer. He's doing 5x5. 5x5? That's not right. 5-on-5. But I don't know. And honestly, Andre Drummond, he's not really doing enough to be considered a must-hold when Embiid returns, I don't think. Paul George is coming back today. So we get to see at least something happening. How does that impact Maxey and his usage and efficiency? What does it do to Oubre? What does it do to Martin? What does it do to someone like Jared McCain, who's been getting minutes over at times Lowry and Eric Gordon? And George is going to be restricted, no doubt. But it'll be intriguing to see what impact he has. In Orlando, Paolo Banchero is dealing with that oblique issue. We got him out until close to Christmas. That's really bad, obviously, and they've tried both Tristan Da Silva and Mr. Black in the lineup, and I wouldn't say either of them are must roster. Black has a more diverse skill set for fantasy, an ability to get assists and some steals and blocks, but the shooting and the offense, and he was honestly dreadful last game. But he can be better than that. They feel like they're just going to be sort of stream guys. And then the one that's more important is Wendell Carter, who last season had a hand issue, had a knee problem, and then has a plantar fascia issue. And he had a knee problem the first game he missed, then came back and the plantar fascia flared up again, which is an ongoing problem. That is bad. I thought that Wendell Carter, he wasn't someone I targeted in drafts at all. And then he started playing really well. I went, let's add him and try it. I think this is a long-term thing that is going to keep his minutes down. And I would be okay with moving on. That means you've got to add Mo Wagner. Goga Bitadze also will return today. He could be useful too. Because we saw last season when Wendell was out, Mo and Goga were both 12-team viable. And I think you can look at both of them as options. It's not going to really matter much on Monday. And I'm expecting Wendell to miss a little bit more time. I've got him there 6th to the 11th, but that could be any time. Plantar fascia issues are a long-term ongoing problem. In Oklahoma City, it's the same injuries. It's all the bigs. It's Isaiah Hartenstein with the fractured hand. It's Pig Williams with the irritated hamstring. And it's Kenrich Williams with the knee. I've got Hartenstein and Jalen Williams back at the beginning of December and Kenrich sometime next week. But who knows? There's no real update on that. So it's just all the same. None of these guys have played a game this season. None of them are playing again this week. It's just more of the same for the Thunder while we wait for players to return. In New York, it's a lot of the same as well because Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa have not played this season and they're still out. Robinson's going to be out until Christmas-ish, New Year, I think. That's my estimation for him and his ankle. And when he comes back, I don't think he's playing gigantic minutes. Precious Achiuwa, maybe next week with his hamstring, he will get the backup minutes over Jericho Sims and he'll probably get some backup power forward minutes, which might make him at least 14-team viable. And then the other one is Campaign, who's got a hamstring issue. They've listed him doubtful, which is weird. That should just be an automatic 2 weeks, but we know the NBA dicks around with hamstrings all the time. With him out, they probably go to Tyler Kolek, or do we just get 35 minutes of Juice McBride? McBride, with these players out and with Payne not playing, I would definitely add McBride over Kolek, though. I think that's more likely. Injuries have smashed the Pelicans. We're aware of this, but when you see it like this, it looks crazy. Look at those players. Zion Williamson missed yesterday with hamstring soreness. Today they changed it to thigh soreness. Okay, so the front versus the back. I don't know. He's questionable again for Monday. Not good. We hope that they're just being cautious and it's not actually a strain, but we'll see. DeJounte Murray, broken hand. I've got him back around Thanksgiving, end of November. CJ McCollum, adductor strain around the same time. Herb Jones, shoulder problem around the same time. So we're talking 2 to 3 more weeks there. That is why we roster Jose Alvarado. That is why Jordan Hawkins, who's also questionable today with a back injury, that is why they've got use. They will not long term. But for the next 3 weeks, they will. And the other one is Trey Murphy, who hasn't played this season. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. I think maybe the end of this week, start of next week, but I don't know. His reevaluation should sort of be around this time period, and it's been a significant enough hamstring injury. I like that they're being cautious with it, and if he comes back while DeJounte, CJ, Herb are all out, he is going to cook. And he's going to be a must-roster guy. And I think if you see Trey Murphy sitting on your waiver wire, this is a great week to stash guys because of the way that the schedule is played out. Add him. Hold him. It's fine. I think it's a really good time to be doing that with old mate Ken Murphy III. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle all of the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 with bonus bets if you win that first bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place those live bets on the NFL. All the live stats, all the live play-by-play, all in the same spot that you would go in and place those live bets. So go to FanDuel.com today to join and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Today's episode is also brought to you by Hims. Guys, it's not embarrassing. Erectile dysfunction can be something that happens to anybody, and your sex life is important, but your schedule can be really busy. Hims is a great way to be able to get that treatment without having to go to the doctor's office. You can get personalized ED treatment without stepping a foot outside your door. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. You just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That is hims.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Now, let's go through the rest of these teams, and we'll go to Minnesota. And they didn't have a huge amount of injury problems last season, and so far it's starting out pretty well for them here. Rudy Gobert is on the injury report with an ankle issue. He is questionable for Monday. Obviously, if he is out, Naz Reid would be the starter, and then Luka Garza is probably going to have to be the backup, and maybe you get a little bit of Leonard Miller in there, but Garza would be the deeper league play if Gobert's out long-term. I don't think this is any sort of long-term situation. Now, it is the Milwaukee Bucks, and there's a couple of really important players right at the top of that list. Marjon Beauchamp. Yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo is dealing with an adductor issue. He is questionable for the game on Monday. It has not been a good start for the Bucks, very obviously. Giannis's defensive impact has also dropped. He's still bad at his free throws. There's so many rumblings about what this team is doing and blowing it up, and I don't know, there's just so much stuff going on with this squad, and now Giannis might miss. And if he does, Bobby Portis is going to step up into a larger role. Although last season, Glenn Rivers didn't start him. He'd start like spuds like Pat Connaughton or Jay Crowder. Now, he doesn't have Jay Crowder available. And Doc does look at Pat more as a guard versus a forward, so I think Portis probably gets that nod, especially with Middleton out. Speaking of Middleton, maybe this week, but I don't know. They're not telling us anything about when he returns. This is another one of those things where it's like, hey, off-season ankle surgery. Okay, that's weird. Is he going to be ready for the opening night? Yeah, of course. And again, he's not. And we are 2 weeks in and we still haven't seen him. And he's going to be limited again. And you just have to worry that his body is rooted. That is just possible. Paddy Connaughton is dealing with an adductor issue. He's probable, while Marjon Beauchamp is out for Monday. Who cares? Like, he's just not a part of their plans. He's not going to play, and that doesn't really matter at all. Let's talk about the Miami Heat. Not much going on there. Jaime Jaquez has a stomach illness. He is questionable. If he is out, I don't think it really does anything for anybody. Honestly, they'd probably play like a Haywood Highsmith, or you get a little bit more Josh Richardson or Alec Burks, or one of those guys. Jaquez is a tough hold. He doesn't have anywhere near enough value unless someone is hurt, and the only person hurt at the moment is him. So it's really, because both Duncan Robinson and Kevin Love are returning today as well. So yeah, he's a really tough hold with, I believe, pretty limited upside. The Memphis Grizzlies, this is one of the ones with a big list. Des Bane, oblique, end of November. Marcus Smart, ankle. Maybe a little bit earlier than Des, but still, 23rd of November is our date we've got there. Vince Williams, the stress reactions in the shin, we've got end of November for him. GG Jackson, fractured foot, I've got until around Christmas for him. Luke Kennard, foot soreness, maybe next week, but honestly, who knows? And then Johnny Conchar been in and out with a quad issue, and he is doubtful again. We know that these guys are not coming back for a period of time here. All guards and wings. So Jalen Wells is getting a lot of opportunity. Scottie Pippen is getting more opportunity. Jake LaRavia and Santi Aldama are getting more opportunity. And it is amazing to say that LaRavia, Wells, Aldama, and Pippen have 12-team value, and they do. Long term, they probably don't, but they do. So for now, we do it. Because all those guys, Bane, Smart, Williams, Jackson, Kennard, Conchar, you can make an argument that all 6 of those players are rotation players and 2 of them are starters. And maybe Vince is a starter over Marcus at any point as well. There's just a lot of guys to come back, and those other players who are benefiting now just will not be able to do that long term. But, like they say, we cross that bridge when we get to it. The Lakers, not much going on there apart from all the probable tags that they look like they're beginning. Anthony Davis did hurt his hip maybe a game or 2 ago. He's probable. Austin Reeves has been on the last few injury reports. He's probable. D'Angelo Russell with a foot problem. He is probable. So we're okay with all that. Christian Wood maybe next week returns with a knee problem, and he would just, if he is available, replace Jackson Hayes. But also, he's bad, so maybe not. Maybe they wouldn't replace Jackson Hayes, who's been okay. And the other one is Jared Vanderbilt, who's dealing with that foot problem all the way back from last season. I've got an expected return around the 16th of November, and I'm starting to get questions about Vanderbilt. I think his foot just might be really bad. Might be cooked, and again, one of those ones where, no, he'll be okay. He'll be fine. Like, no, we'll get through it. Preseason, we'll see him. I was like, here we go. All right, here we go. Still going. Someone even asked me a question like, what do we do? We're stashing him in points leagues? Like, he's a bad points league player. Like, absolutely not. We don't know when he's coming back or would he be able to play when he returns. And it's a new coach. I don't know. Yeah, could it have an impact on Hachimura? Yeah, but Hachimura is having an impact on Hachimura because also he's Rui Hachimura. So I just don't think there's any real value in waiting for Vanderbilt to come back and do things. He's a guy that requires very specific conditions to be strong for fantasy, and I'm not sure those conditions exist. And those conditions are you need to be starting and playing like 26 minutes a night and playing next to Anthony Davis and getting high steals and good rebounds with good field goals, and I'm not sure how confident I feel in that. In fact, I just don't. Speaking of another thing that I have no idea about, the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. Now, I stupidly drafted Kawhi at like pick 57 in the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. That was based off my initial hunch before we got the Shams reporting, and I said it, I'm fading him. I'm not taking him inside the top 50, and I didn't. I waited till outside the top 50, and then more reporting came through, and I'm like, oh, this is actually way worse than this. I don't know that I do it in the top 80, to be honest, and I just don't know when he's back. The amount of lying that this organization goes through with Kawhi is outstanding. It's not outstanding. What is outstanding? It's amazing that you can do that, but it's also astounding. It's ridiculous. We just will never know. I've got an estimated 20th of November return for Kawhi, but honestly, that could be February. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what is going on in his knee. I know that it's rooted, and I know that I will never draft Kawhi Leonard again. And you might say that, Josh, you always rail against people being reactive like that. True, but that is when they do it without any basis. Multiple knee surgeries, meniscus, same knee. That is a terrible recipe. Yeah, if Kawhi is there in the 90s, I will draft him most of the time. But I do get the feeling that this is just done. Not done as in out for the season, never playing again, but like never the same Kawhi. The other part of this is also, you see criticism of, well, I can't believe they gave him that extension. That was before he re-hurt his knee. And to me, that re-hurting of the knee it's the final straw for me in terms of feeling confident in him. And I had some levels of confidence. I drafted him like everywhere last season. I was very confident in him. But that was the final straw for me, and that happened after the contract extension. Mo Bamba, we haven't seen him yet. Kai Jones was getting backup center minutes. He's not anymore. He's also bad. Mo Bamba's bad. Don't need to worry about him. And then PJ Tucker is not with the team. He will not play again for the Clippers. And I'd expect that at 40 years old, whatever team he goes to, he's not going to have an impact either. Let's talk about the next team. It is the Indiana Pacers with our significant injuries. They've already lost one center to a torn Achilles. Imagine the odds of losing 2 centers in 2 weeks with torn Achilles, because that's what's happened. Isaiah Jackson's out for the year without torn Achilles. Now, I get a lot of questions about, like, what do we do? Who do we add? Like, Jackson wasn't an add anyway. He is a reserve. But the thing that would be interesting is if Obi Toppin takes on the backup center minutes. Now, the problem is that Obi Toppin sucks at defense. He is really bad. And maybe they just can't play him there. But their other options are like Enrique Freeman, who's like 6'6". It's, they think he's going to be Draymond Green. Maybe he can be. It's Pascal Siakam at center, who's also a bad rim protector. It's Jarris Walker, who they've been trying to make into a 3 versus a 5. So if he wanted to have a crack at Toppin, do it. Do it. But he's bad. He can't defend. He can shoot pretty well. He can score. He can rebound. That's cool. Like, he is somehow worse than Bobby Portis. But that's the opportunity. So we really need to watch what they do. They're probably going to have to play Jarris and Freeman and Toppin more minutes. Because the other thing is we talk about Jarris, but Aaron Nesmith's out. He sprained his ankle. I think that's a couple of week injury there for him. So they've been grooming Jarris to be a starting 3. So does he start at the 3? Or do they put Mathurin and Nembhard together? But then the further complicating factor is, guess what? Nembhard's injured. He missed the last game with a knee problem. He doesn't look like it's a longer-term thing, but that's where Mathurin's starting. And with Nesmith and Nembhard both out, that does mean that Mathurin's role is more secure. Now, I didn't like Mathurin as a fantasy guy this season because I didn't think the role was secure. But when you lose those 3 guys, it improves. And he was really good last game. Also, remembering he had 5 points in 13 minutes the game before that. But the role improvement, the role floor raising, I think helps him out to become at least more interesting for us. We'll go to Houston, where it is a relatively clean injury report. It's Steven Adams who's still dealing with the knee problem, and he missed the last game. And this is like worrisome. Like, he injured his knee in the 2023 playoffs. I think that's right. He then came back and played preseason in October 23 for a couple of games, and then he was ruled out for the season. Then he was traded to the Rockets and didn't play at all, obviously, and then came in this season and is still having management days for his knee that are not back-to-backs, and he also had a calf injury. I love Steve. These are terrible signs for where his future fitness lies. Just a lot of games off for a knee injury that occurred over a year ago that are not back-to-backs. He's questionable here. And sometimes they play Jock Landale as the backup, and also Jeff Green apparently dead on this team, which is fine. He's 40 years old, but they are running into some center depth problems. They should just be playing more Jock there. But it also does help Tari Eason. It does help Jabari Smith, because that means Smith has to play backup center, and it means Eason gets more minutes at the 4. So that's another tick in the box of Tari Eason. If Adams gets hurt or is just going to keep missing games, it does help Tari this season? Probably not, but maybe. Golden State. A lot of injuries for them as well, though it's settled down a little bit. Steph could return today. So if he doesn't return today, you think that return's coming pretty soon. And then Andy Wiggins is dealing with a back problem. He is probable. But the only one who's sort of longer term now is the wave pool, DeAnthony Melton. Maybe he's back later this week with his back problem. But again, I would not be holding DeAnthony Melton. This is a back issue that ruined the second half of last season. He had all off season. He comes in and it's flared up again. Not good. Backs are real problematic very clearly. I wouldn't be shocked if you get the, it's not helping, he needs surgery or something. I wouldn't be surprised, which is terrible news. So just be aware of that. And what that does is it helps Buddy Hield. It helps Pajemski. You'd say it helps Kuminga, but Kuminga's numbers haven't been good anyway, even with these guys out. But the guy who's really been benefiting has been Pajemski and Hield getting into these larger roles, because when they played that full rotation, it was 23 minutes for Pods and 15 minutes for Hield. So if Melton is a long-term absence, which is possible, that would help those players. We go now to the Detroit Pistons. The only 2 injuries are the 2 injuries that have been there all season. One of those is Asar Thompson with his blood clot issue. No idea when he's back. We haven't heard anything about him passing the return to play protocols. So I'm just going to put him out until next week. I don't think you should be rostering him. I think that his role is probably going to be capped, and his fantasy limitations are high enough that combination plus an uncertain return date just is not good business. Now, if you've got open IL slots, anything goes at any point. Do whatever you want. I don't care. Don't even talk to me about it. Do what you want. But when you have to make decisions about it, then it is harder for me to get behind the Asar hold. Bobby Klintman, maybe there's minutes for him when he returns, but he's a second-round rookie. You'll get a couple of flashes, but I don't think that one matters for most of us. We look at the next team, which is the Denver Nuggets. Jamal Murray, concussion. He's missed one game. He's going to miss Monday as well. Concussions, we just don't know. It could be a week. It could be 3 weeks. It could be that he's back on Wednesday. I'm not sure. With him out, they start Russell Westbrook. and just be prepared for him to be the most destructive percentage player that exists. He's actually really bad as a real-life player these days, and the more minutes he gets, while it does help the counting stats, the other stats that count are the missed field goals and missed free throws. So you're going to have big, big negatives there. Aaron Gordon's listed as probable with a knee problem. They are playing their guys a ton of minutes, and I worry that there is going to be a big crash at some point. And Vlatko Cancar is doubtful with an ankle problem. They've already taken Dario Saric out of the rotation, by the way. They had to unearth DeAndre Jordan. Calvin Booth just masterclassing how to destroy a team. Unbelievably masterclassing. What an absolute, like... Vladdy Divac is looking like, Calvin, mate, can you settle down? Can you make a good decision for once? Vladdy's even going, check out this bloke. You see what's going on here? Calvin, my guy. Far out. Next team, Dallas. Pretty clean. Maxi Kleber, another hamstring injury that we're still waiting on his return. Muxi's one of these players with a lower body. He's like 31 now. The lower body seems to have given up. You hope that's not the case, but he cannot stay healthy. What that means is it's better for Lively and better for Gafford, but Muxi's out maybe the end of the week. And then Dante Exum, another injury for him. We're talking wrist stuff now until January. So we're not caring about him for any fantasy formats. Let's go now to the teams that start with C. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Karis LeVert with a knee issue. He missed the last game. We know he's had some ongoing foot problems in the early part of his career, but then it moved to knee issues. He was not doing anything close to what we wanted him to do. We thought he'd be a 26-minute-a-night player, but no. Kenny Atkinson was keeping him at 22. So, no, we just don't need to roster him. The winter soldier, Max Strus, maybe the 1st of December. That's a return from a significant ankle sprain. He's not someone we hold. He might be useful in 12s, but I'm not really feeling confident on that. Dean Wade's dealing with an illness now. If Wadey is out and LeVert is out, I think Isaac Okoro is going to have to do a lot more. Now, he was really good last game. We're not adding him or streaming him, but that's just something to watch. Jalen Tyson's the guy that I'd love to see with Wade and Strus and LeVert all maybe missing, but he's also out. So these are all guys who play the three. The other one's Amani Bates, who had a knee procedure. He's out to the middle of November. Honestly, he's not an NBA player, but I know people sometimes like to talk about him. Let's go to the Chicago Bulls. And injury-wise, there's a lot of names there, but most of it is okay. Zach LaVine, who had the shoulder issue, is now on the injury report with an adductor strain. He's questionable for that. Another core soft tissue injury. If he is out, it's Ayo Dosunmu that we go and add. Josh Giddey is probable with an illness. Lonzo Ball is dealing with that wrist problem, so maybe the 11th of November is a return. That is sometime next week. I don't think we need to hold Lonzo Ball. And then Pat Williams and Jalen Smith are both probable. Shoulder for Williams, knee for Smith. We're not rostering either of those guys really in any 10s or 12s. The Charlotte Hornets. I wish I had more information for you about some of these injuries, but I don't. And this is not old Hornets, it's better Hornets. So if you know me at all, you know that I am not going to be afraid to go in on a team in their injury reporting. This is not that. We're good. Brandon Miller, though, played one game. Huge game. And now he's back on the injury report for his glute. He's got a questionable ass once again. Not good. Let's hope it's nothing. Mark Williams in his foot hasn't played yet. I'm just going to go ahead and say don't expect him back this week. Maybe. You know what? I just said that, and that's such an American phrase. And when you go and live, I don't live in America. When you go and stay there, and I've been to America so many times over my life, 10, 11 times, I think. One of the things that Americans love saying is like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and order one of these. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So I said I'm going to go ahead and say that Mark Williams is out. I'm picking it up. I'm picking up the vernacular. There you go. Mark Williams. I'm going to go ahead and say that he's out for week 3 with a foot strain. The problem is his replacement, BDNR, Big Dick Nick Richards, is also out with a shoulder. No real clarity on what the shoulder issue is. Richards might return on Wednesday, or he might be out longer than Williams is. So Grant Williams is the replacement guy there. He's not a great fantasy guy, but if he gets 34 minutes, more than 28, then that's great. That's useful. And then if you're really into self-torture, Moussa Diabate in deeper leagues. And then Daquan Jeffries has a hand injury. I wonder if he actually ever plays a game for Charlotte. He was part of the deal, like take this guy's injured salary back and get something in part of the Towns trade. And also give up James Nagy for some reason. For the Brooklyn Nets, Bojan Bogdanovic has not played yet. I've got him back in a couple of weeks from the wrist surgery. His return will further complicate the Jalen Wilson, Zaire Williams bench minutes. he's not going to start because Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson are doing that, so we're definitely not rostering Boyan, but it's just a complicating factor. Noah Clowney popped up on the injury report as questionable. I still think that in March, Clowney is going to be fantasy relevant. I hoped it would be earlier, but it didn't happen. We've moved on. Day'Ron Sharpe hasn't played yet. He's got a hamstring injury, maybe the end of November. I've got him around the 19th there. But with Simmons and Claxton playing backup set or sharing the center minutes, I'm not really sure where Sharpe fits in. And if Sharpe does play backup center, where the hell does Simmons fit? Don't know. I wouldn't be. Sharpe is an interesting one, but we also saw some real weird stuff with him last season. Another big man, Trenton Watford, hamstring injury. Got him out to about the 11th of November. He's got no timetable to return, even though he got upgraded to probable. Something obviously went back wrong. He's a guy that can put up numbers, but there's too many players. Clowney, Sharpe, Claxton, Simmons, Johnson, Bogdanovic. Where does this guy play? It needs a lot of stuff to happen. Finney-Smith. He's not going to be there. And Jaylen Martin is questionable with an illness. Shout out to you if you've got Jaylen Martin in your fantasy lineup. Onto the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown. We knew that the Celtics would load manage this season. We knew they would do it. Brown now has missed 2 games. Saturday's game and Monday's game with this hip problem. And they will continue to be extra cautious. Last game, they started Luke Kornet and Al Horford together. And Kornet went crazy. Do not buy into that. He shot like 100%, I think, from the field. It was interesting that that's what they did. The guy that you want, obviously, is Peyton Pritchard, who, with Brown continuing to be out, they are just pumping massive minutes into him. I didn't think they'd be able to get 28 into him every night, but they are. When Porzingis returns, and Brown returns, maybe that changes, but don't worry about it. Porzingis, we've got returning around Christmas with his ankle problem, and he will be limited all the way through the season without any doubt at all. And the last team is the Atlanta Hawks, who is another big injury list. Bogdanovic with his hamstring problem. He is out until about the first week in December. You don't have to hold him. DeAndre Hunter, I thought at first it was just sitting one game of a back-to-back due to a knee problem, but he just hasn't played since. So I don't know what's going on with this knee management. It is not a one-game thing. This is not management. This is soreness. This is leading into something else. You do not roster DeAndre Hunter either. The thing that you would hope would mean that Zachary Ricochet can just hold on to that job and keep starting, and I think he should. But the problem is he's also bad. Now, if you want to just hold waiting for him to get better, cool. Welcome to 2026. We might get there then. I don't know. You can hold Ricochet. The defensive numbers have been good, but the shooting is horrendous. In fairness to Zach, he won't be a 21% three-point shooter or a 36% two-point shooter. No one is. Unless you are trying to compete with Anthony Bennett. Hunter, we're not worrying about. Vic Krejci, core injury, adductor, a couple more weeks. He was playing some solid minutes as the backup point guard because they had no one else, and now he's out. We don't worry about it. Kobe Buffkin, I wanted to see what he could do. I'm really excited about what this guy can provide, but unfortunately, out again, another shoulder injury. It's first week of December. We just wait to come back. And then Cody Zeller is doing his best PJ Tucker. He was part of the DeJounte Murray deal, and he's like, I'm not playing here. What are you doing? And they go, cool, we don't want you to play. So he's just not playing. And Seth Lundy dealing with an ankle problem. He's out, but who cares? Sorry to Seth and his family, but that's not impacting us for fantasy. And that hopefully impacted you to find out a little bit more about the injuries around the NBA. That is 30 teams done. That is time for you to thumb it up. That is time for you to double bang. That is thought 30 minutes, but absolutely not. 45 minutes of hopefully some goodness in there. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.